So I'm going to re-record this. Unfortunately, we didn't capture audio, so it won't completely line up. But so in your kits, you should find a little pre-rolled piece of yellow roving. That's going to be the body of our bee. Then we also should have, we're going to make this little bumblebee here, by the way. So go ahead and open up your kits. And there you'll find a piece of foam and 3 needles attached to it. You can go ahead and pull those out. Erin's got a nice mustache, and here I'm telling her, don't unroll your yellow felt or your yellow roving. And she makes that face. So don't. So I pre-rolled the bodies for the bees. So you have 3 needles. They're 3 different sizes. There's a small, a medium, and a large. You can tell by the length of them. The smallest one will be the shortest one. So you'll also have the pre-rolled yellow roving. You'll have some black roving and a bigger piece of white roving. And then somewhere in there you should also have some eyeballs, which are in Will's kit. And I forgot to make some for myself. So you have a little bag of 2 tiny bead eyeballs. You can see those in Mark's video there. So we're going to start with our body, which is the little yellow chunk of roving. And I like to use my smaller needle, which is the shortest one. You can see on the needle, they're different from just sewing needles where they have a little barb on the end of them. They have little barbs on the end of them. They also have a sharp point, so they can get through the roving easily. So the barbs will go into the roving and mat it, and that is what makes the felt stick together, kind of like dreadlocks or something, right? The fibers mat together. So you're going to go ahead and take your yellow ball, and I'll show you how to rewrap them for those who unwrapped theirs. So the center I have made a little more dense. So if you want to take a look at what it looks like, it'll have 1 strip of yellow roving, and then it will have a little cylindrical kind of tighter roll inside. So you're going to take that tighter roll and you're going to put it perpendicular to the strip of yellow roving, and then you're gonna roll it up. So you see what I'm doing there. I'm taking the strip of roving. I'm taking my little chunky strip, and I'm rolling it up onto the yellow roving to make my bee body base. So there you go. And so that you can kind of roll it up and kind of slide it together. That'll make it stick a little bit better. And you're going to want to go around. So now we're going to gently felt the part where I'm holding my fingers right now on the outside is the part we've been referring to as the cinnamon roll part. The other part where we just wrapped that piece of yellow roving around the outside, I'll just call that my wrapped part. So you're going to want to poke a few times on your wrapped part, just to keep that wrapping in place. So you can go ahead and poke along the top there, where you saw our wrapping came in. And I'm going to use my small needle because that's my favorite needle to use. So we're just poking and just do a few pokes, and then you're going to want to kind of poke along the perimeter of your roving. You can kind of flip over and poke the other side there. Then you can start poking the cinnamon roll side. So you're going to kind of go ahead and poke in the center and all around the edges a little bit to kind of pull in the see how I'm poking around the edges? I'm going to kind of pull in that outer roving. So again, just kind of poke all over the sides in kind of a random pattern. And Andrew asked how deep should it go, and I was mentioning that it should go the full length of the thin tip of the needle into your roving. So I'm just poking kind of all around in a random pattern, all around in a random pattern, and then flipping it over, doing that again on the other side with my cinnamon roll. Then we keep repeating that. And you can now start on the wrapped side and start poking that side as well, and kind of just keep rotating it. Rotating it around as you poke it. So I'm just kind of poking, and to make it a little more shapely, you can poke kind of where the corners come in, and that will start to make it a little more cylindrical. So I don't remember what question I was fielding here. See my terrible chair. Oh, people couldn't see it because I didn't have it spotlighted. So you might want to zoom in on your camera, or make this full screen. So we're going to use some board games to make this taller, because that is what I have available in the man cave. Okay, so again, I'm poking around the cinnamon roll part, and you can see I'm poking along the edges and kind of poking towards the center at like a diagonal, and that's going to make my shape a little rounder around the edges, rather than making a line. So again, I'm poking the center, and I'm poking around the edges, and I'm rotating it. I'm poking along the wrapped part of it. And I'm not touching the two short ends very much. And Erin's asking me about which way is going to be the center. Is it the wrapped end or the cinnamon roll end? And I told her kind of that whole chunk in the middle is going to be the whole thing is going to end up being the bee body. So hopefully I'm going to put it back where you can see it. Okay, there you go. Unfortunately, this is very difficult to see. I'm not quite sure what was being asked here, but there you go. So I'm going to continue poking, and you want to get to you want to kind of feel your form as you go, and get to kind of a little bit of a firm texture, not like a rock, but it's kind of up to preference, like how firm you want it, but you want it to be, you don't want it to squish in too much when you press on it. So right now it's very squishy. You're going to keep going until it mats together and loses that squishiness. So that's what we're doing here. We're firming it up and shaping it along the edges. Firming it up and shaping it. And so you notice that a lot of people are poking a lot more than I am. So we're going to have varying thicknesses that will make varying thicknesses of bees, and it will also make varying firmness of bees based on how much you poke it. So now I'm starting to rotate the bee and kind of get a more cylindrical shape. There you go. It's a little easier to see. So I'm rotating to do a more cylindrical shape. I'm just rotating and poking, and again, you notice I haven't really done the ends too much. Eventually I'll go and do those. I was telling Andrew his looks very nice. So now I'm poking the ends. So now I'm going in there and poking the two sides that I haven't really done much with. On Mark's is looking really good. And so it's getting a little firmer. Not too firm. It's a little soft. And it's your preference what size needle you use. Some people like to start out with the thicker needle. Things will felt faster with that needle, but it will also leave bigger holes in your project. So it's up to you. It's also harder when your project gets firmer to push the thicker needle through. So I honestly use the thin needle the whole time. I think it uses creates the least amount of holes in your finished product, and it just, I don't know, it takes a little longer to felt, but I think it looks better in the end. But it's up to you. So as your project, if you started with the thicker needle, as your project gets firmer, you're going to want to switch to one of the thinner needles. So Mary Elizabeth is telling me that hers is looking very square, and she's asking how she can fix that. And I'm telling her that you can poke around the corners in kind of a random pattern, and that will make it. See, I'm saying there's a little bit of a square part. I want to get rid of that, so I'm randomly poking in this pattern here. So that's how you can get rid of corners. You can smooth them out by randomly poking all over them, like kind of in a random pattern, and that will kind of level out the corners. And hers came out really nice, so everyone's did, so it ended up working out. So again, we're just keep poking. Again, careful of your fingers because the needles are very sharp at the tips. And you're just going to want to get it pretty firm. And this is, again, is where they're asking how deep to poke it. And I was pointing out that there is the thin part is the part with the barbs. So you only need to go that far. There aren't barbs above that. So that's how far you need to push it in. If you push any further, you'll just make holes. It doesn't help felt it. Because the barbs are what mats the fiber together. So again, I'm, every like 5th time probably that I go around the cylinder, I'm going and touching up the two ends and keeping them round. And see how nice Mary Elizabeth came out after she adjusted her square edges. And Mandy's is a little square, so I was telling her she can level those out. And so now I'm saying check your firmness. And you want it to be pretty firm to the touch, but not too firm. And we're going to add, after we add our stripes, you can make it a little firmer as well, because you're going to add, you're going to kind of mat those on there. So it'll become a little bit firmer still, sorry. So, let's see. We're doing our, so again, we're just poking and waiting till everyone's satisfied. Continuing the ends here. And I asked how everyone's doing. Several people are saying they're done with their body. Yep, Amy's ready. Will is telling me that his bee is very tiny. He felt that his a lot more than everyone else. His came out cute too, but they all came out kind of different, which is great. So let's see. So I'm just finishing mine up. Yep, and let's see. There we go. I'm feeling again, and it looks like we're looking pretty good there in terms of squishiness. Not too squishy anymore. So now we're going to add, now is the time we add our stripes. So if everyone's ready, Will's messing with his black eyebrows over there. I didn't see that the first time. So we're going to take our black roving. So find your little strip of black roving. And we'll take that roving, and you're going to want to peel a tiny, or pull and peel a tiny strip off of this to make into your stripe. So start from the top and very gently peel, kind of pull it away from the other fibers. And it's going to be probably like maybe like a half a centimeter, not very thick. And it's very thin amount of wool as well, so it's not very much roving there. So you're gonna take a little strip off there and pull it all the way the full length. It's probably like, I think I have, those pieces are probably 4 inches long, so you're gonna want like a 4-inch strip. This will kind of vary depending on how thick you made your bee, based on how much you felted it. So there you go, you got your strip, very thin and only like a half a centimeter wide, so very thin. And you're going to want 2 of those. So Andrew's got a good one there. So repeat the same thing for the other one. And again, just kind of pull it away from the other fibers. And just make another strip about the same size for your stripe. And the other, we will use some more of the black roving for the stinger, but you should have extra. So after you have 2 sort of equal size strips, we're ready to add those onto the body of the bee. There's your strip. So let's take our bee body, and we're going to 1/3 of the way from one of the ends, we're going to just gently wrap that roving around the body. Kind of just stick it on there, and you can even it out a little bit, but don't worry too much. Kind of just gently wrap it around the whole thing. You can wrap it around a couple times depending on how thin you made it. It's going to be kind of wispy. Just kind of push it on there. You can make it thinner more easily when you start felting it. It's harder to make it thicker, except by adding some more. And I was thinking about doing the other one, but I changed my mind. So instead, you're going to tack this piece on. Probably by now you'll need your smaller needle, because your bee will be a little thicker and denser, harder to get through with your thicker needles. So use the shortest needle, which is the small needle. And I, for some reason, thought I lost my small needle. I had only my medium. Mark's saying that his looks too thick, and I'm telling him that it's okay. You can, I'll show him how to kind of pull in some of that thickness, and Andrew's saying mine's really thick. So what you do is first we're going to poke all around the circumference to attach it. So just kind of poke in the middle of that black stuff to attach the black roving to the bee. And then you can kind of come in from the edges and kind of pull in the wispy parts, and then push. So pull in from the edge and push down, and that will make your stripe smaller. So that's how you can kind of like condense it along one line it up, and also make it a little thinner. So there you go, kind of get your stripe how you want it, and then you can kind of poke, once you have it, fairly uniform and how you want it, you can poke kind of all over the bee, including on that stripe, so that we don't just make a big indent in the place where we're attaching that stripe. And you can, do this a little bit. You don't have to go over too much, because we're going to add the other stripe as well. And Mark's saying his is still ginormous, and I'm saying it's okay. Just need to kind of keep working at it. It'll all eventually kind of mesh into the felt. It'll all kind of felt into the wool. So now I'm taking my second strip, and I'm going to do that another third over from the stripe. kind of between that stripe and the other end. Doing the same thing. I'm just wrapping it kind of in a thin line around the bee's body, and I'm just wrapping it again, wrapping it all the way around, and then I'll start poking it to attach it with your small needle. So here we go. Again, using that small needle because your body's getting probably too tense. So I'm going ahead and just going to poke all around the circumference. And actually I'm going ahead and tucking it in now. So I'm pushing from the side and tucking it right in there. And so I push from the side, and then I push in with the needle. Push from the side, push in. Push from the side, push in. Kind of uses the barbs on the needle to pull in the wool onto the into the center, and then you can push them down into the body of the bee. So again, I'm just working at that, kind of making a nice little stripe there. And so now you can start felting kind of all over the bumblebee body again. And you'll keep going back and forth. And you want to go all along both those stripes and along the body again to try and, just like we were doing in the very beginning, to try and keep the hole density equivalent and you're not making any big holes. If you keep putting your needle in the same spot over and over again, you will make a dent or you will make it flat. So you want to make sure that you're kind of moving all over. And again, I'm adjusting my stripes a little bit because this one's a little thick. I'm pulling in my roving. Again, making it a little more even. And then here we go. Nice. So I'm gonna so Mark asked if I have a gap, and I said, okay, yeah, you can just take a little more roving and put it right on top and adjust it, and that will thicken up that line, right? So that's how you can adjust that line. So, yep, keep poking, and kind of poke all over the body of the bee again, just so we can get in random patterns, and so it felts all at the same amount of time. So yep, make sure you keep rotating and poking and rotating and poking and not sticking in one spot. You can keep pulling in your stripes till they're on there. Eventually they should really mesh with the whole body. Oh, and Lauren's is looking very nice. Lauren and Andrews. And I was mentioning you can keep making them smaller and smaller. And he said he thought his was kind of short. And I said, that's because you poked the edges more than other people did. But it doesn't matter. They all look cute. And Mandy said she stabbed her finger, and I said, be very careful. The needles are sharp. So I told her that I usually don't take my eye off my piece when I'm felting. And that helps prevent you from stabbing yourself. But when I'm watching TV, I will wear finger guards because I've stabbed myself many times because I'm not paying attention. So make sure when you're felting the edges of the bee to try and get the stripes integrated into the body. You make sure you felt the top and the bottom, the face and the bum part as well, the shorter ends a little bit as well. Like we were doing every 5th rotation, I was kind of messing with it. I was felting the top and the bottom edges. So go ahead and keep doing that. So there we go. And you're just going to keep going around. Takes a little bit of time, and this whole time it should be getting firmer, and you can kind of focus on any uneven spots and kind of randomly poke in that area, and you should get a smoother product by doing that. So I'm just kind of evening out as I do the body. I'm kind of evening out. So now we're going to work on our stinger if everyone's ready. So we're going to take off another strip of our black roving, just like we did for the stripes. This one's going to be probably about a finger width wide, so like a centimeter wide, and probably about 3 inches long. So I actually used my index finger as an example. So my index finger is probably about 3 inches long and a centimeter wide. So that's going to be used for your stinger. So now you're going to take the end of your needle, the handle end, and you're going to use that part to wrap the part for your stinger. So I'm giving everyone a chance to catch up. Some people it looked like hadn't done their stinger, so we're just going to keep waiting for everyone to catch up. So Andrew's got his strip. So I think everyone has their strip ready. So now we'll take the non-pointy end, the handle end of our needle, and we're going to put one end of the roving around it, and we're going to kind of firmly roll the needle. It has to be fairly tight, and the fibers are going to kind of mat to each other when you firmly roll them together, and just keep rolling. I like to kind of hold one end and twirl the needle so that it wraps very, very tightly, and that helps them knot together nicely. So once you get to the end, so this is going to be about the width of your stinger, so gauge how big you want your stinger to be. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this whole thing all the way around it, my 3 inch, except for that little piece I just took off. So there's what I have. And once you get to the end, you can kind of twist it up under it and just kind of mat it together to get it to stay. So once you have that all set, everyone's asking if theirs are too thick. And I was saying some stingers you want it to be a little thinner, so we'll try it a couple times. Mark's looks a little thick to me, so he's going to try a thinner one. Andrew's is a little thick, so he's going to try a thinner one. So we're going to do this again. But once you have it how you want it, I'm mentioning that you can kind of twist, kind of roll the edges between your fingers to kind of prevent it from unraveling. And then you're going to just pull it off your needle over the pointy end. And then you're all done. That's a stinger ready to go. So I'm going to practice that again just to show you. So again, it's about finger width long and probably like a centimeter wide. And again, we're going to take that and wrap it around the handle of our needle to try and make a little tight stinger. So keep it very taut keep the roving very taut while you turn the needle, and it will kind of mat to itself. So you can keep going. If it's too thick, just remove, decide how thick you want it to go, and then just remove the excess roving when you're done. You don't have to wrap the whole 3 inch strip around it. See, I took some off at the end there, and I kind of twisted it around to mat those edges together so it stays together. So there it is. I've got another one. So now we're going to slide it off and set that aside. So now you have two options for your stinger, and you can kind of decide which one you like better. They're going to be about that width, though. That won't change too much. So we will choose the one that you like best. I'm going to choose my first one. I like that one a little better. It's got a little conical shape. And you're going to try and you're going to hold it together, just gently go over one end and felt all the way down one end, rotate it 90 degrees, and then felt all the way down it again. Rotate, felt all the way down the stinger. And one end is going to be the side we attach. I'm going to call it the wispy side. You don't need to felt on that side. So the side where I'm keeping my finger is where I'm going to attach it to the bee body. You want to leave that wispy, so you're just going to felt the non-wispy part. You're going to go again, maybe one more time, just to secure this little roll, this little stinger roll. So now here, you're going to want to try and make your stinger the wispy part of the, sorry, the pointy end. You want to make that pointier rather than wispy. So you can either kind of fold over that point and then felt it into the other piece, or you can gently push your needle. Again, I'm saying this is the wispy end, and we're going to attach that to the bee, so leave that wispy. But this other end we're going to make into a point. So you can push your needle through that point, through the wispy part in the point, and kind of gather all that roving in to make it more pointy rather than fluffy. Or you can just fold it over and try and do the same thing. So Bailey was saying she's having a hard time getting her wispiness in there, her wisps in there. And so I told her you can just fold over a little bit of the edge and just kind of felt and turn and felt and turn to get that to be smoother. And so I kind of went the other way. I pushed kind of diagonally towards my finger, which I said, watch out, this is kind of dangerous. This part's a little bit fiddly. So this is to make our little stinger. So there you go. You can see that mine's a little bit pointier now, and there's not much fuzziness on the end there. So that's looking good. So you can keep poking along that edge, and you'll end up with a conical kind of stinger. So you can kind of mess with this for a little bit, but probably what I had before would have worked. I'm just waiting to make sure everyone's satisfied. Okay, so once you're satisfied, there you go. That's what mine is going to end up looking like. It's a little bit conical. And then the other end is wispy. We're going to attach that side to the bee. So go ahead and take your bee. Oh no, not yet. We're still messing with it. So you don't have to do this. I think I'm kind of killing time for everyone to catch up. So you can just make it a little more cylindrical if you want. I mean, not cylindrical, a little more conical if you want. A little pointier. So once you're satisfied with that, we will attach it to the bee. So looks like we're almost done here. Some people are still working, some people are long and done. So now take this wispy part. This is the part we're going to attach to the bum of the bee. And you can kind of even pull it apart a little bit just to have some more surface area. Just make sure it's not very tight, because you want all that felt, all that roving to mat in. So now is when you decide on which part of your bee is the face and which part is the bum. And I also advise here that we're not going to do much more. We'll do a little bit more felting around the edges. So you can touch it up if you want while you're waiting. So I'm deciding that this part is gonna be my bum. I'm just adjusting it while I'm waiting for everybody. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna I'm just touching it up apparently while I'm waiting for everybody. So you're gonna take the wispy part and place it along the portion that's the bum side of your bee for your stinger. Place the wispy part up against it, and just go ahead and push right in the center there a couple times, and that should secure it. And then you can kind of pull in the wisps like we've been doing to add the stinger. And you could call that good, or you can kind of poke in the center of your stinger and bring it downwards to try and make it a little bit shorter. So mine was very long. So here's where it cut out.